consistency in craft. Yeah, crafting letters.
Okay, well, so we're going to pick up where we left last time. So as you get to the mansion, doors that are large enough.
Mansion?
Yes. Did you not remember? So the last time we left off, you're on your way.
You were eyeballing. Oh my god, there's a fucking giant.
Yes, which led you. And while you were eyeballing the giant, your grandmother got your attention that you need to go and stop fooling around.
Well, I would have been following Grandma.
So she headed in the same direction as those two giant creatures.
Okay. Oh.
So, when this happened, your grandmother, your employer, Raven, led you all up to a very large mansion. The doors are large enough to accommodate the said creatures that you saw walking around. When the door was knocked on, it was answered by an elf. Once the elf opens the door all the way that you can see, the elf is wearing a loincloth, and he has a ring on his finger. He looks at you all very nervously, and he says, can I help you? Which your grandmother goes, I'm here to see Golden Hands. Tell him he has guests waiting. And she walks in. She walks in like she owns the place.
Of course, this is the grandma.
Okay. So, you all follow or?
Yep, I follow.
Okay. So, once you all are into this dwelling and off the streets of Innsmouth, you all enter into a very large room that has palm trees planted in it, and it has pillars, and there are thick rugs that cover the floor, and they are marble floors. You can smell incense, and you can also be able to tell that there is quite a breeze, which means that part of this house may be open. Now, your grandmother, your employer, does not go any further than this first room. And you can tell that there is no furniture in the room whatsoever as well. So, as the elf goes to leave and shuts the door, she kicks him in the ass and tells him to hurry along. So she looks at Evan, looks at you, and then looks at Raven and goes, Raven, come here. And she leans on you. Not hard enough. It's a show. Like, you get the feeling like she's leaning on you to try to make it look like your furniture, but not putting any weight on you. She goes, don't worry, just hold still. Play along if you have to. So, after a few minutes, y'all hear something that sounds like it could be thunder. And as it comes close to you, you notice that the palm trees in the room actually sway a little. And after a few minutes, you see a very tall gentleman. He's probably, let's say, non-mystery number calling. They're wanting to get in on the D&D. They're like, oh, maybe if I call in the middle of the show, they'll pick up.
Yeah, no, it's not a number I know. I don't answer for numbers I don't know.
I don't blame you there. I mean, God only knows who it could be. Yeah, I mean, it could be players trying to collect their bills, be holders that, are trying to telemarket you something. God. Oh, you laugh now, but wait till you get one of them calling. So, this tan-skinned figure with black hair is about 16 feet tall. And he, or rather it, you can see that it is actually a he, is wearing a lightly blue-colored robe, and you see that he has rings on every single one of his fingers, and he is actually barefooted. And one of the things that you notice with this robe is there's a loose, like, fold of the robe, as if it's meant to wrap around something. He has what would be for him would be a small bag. But for you, like your grandmother, you and Raven could ride in this bag that he has at his waist. So when he walks up, he goes, "Ah, you are here for the exchange." He looks at you and he goes, "What is that tiny thing there?" And he points at you, Bluebell. She before you can say anything, she goes, "It is merely one of my oddities not for sale." She goes, "Now, the item." Goes, "Well, since you are my guest, please come and enjoy a repast. It is very rare that I have guests, especially ones of such stature as yourselves. You see, the city around here is mighty unfriendly." He goes, "Come, little friends, nothing to worry about." So your grandmother ushers for you all to go in front of her, aka your employer, Raven. What do you all do?
I hang back as close to Grandma as possible.
Okay, so Eben, seeing that the two of you, like Raven, I'm assuming that you're not wanting to take the lead. Okay, so Eben will kind of read the body language out of the two of you, and he will take the lead behind the giant, and he will, he'll follow, I guess, followed by you, and then by you, Bluebell, and then Grandma. Okay. So when he walks you out of this room, all of a sudden you notice that the windows and stuff and the entire structure that would be the mansion has been knocked down. Instead, there are very large walls here, same kind of pillars, and there are spikes, and there are big, huge open, basically archways that you can see lead out, and there are palm trees planted everywhere. And it's a whole entire marble floor as you all go in. So, in fact, as for why the blackboards are out, so when you all came in, this way we do not have a replay of Into the Unknown, the Rat Room, fire station hall debacle. So this was the room that you all waited in. So there were palm trees.
Yeah,
There's like about 4 palm trees. There's no furniture. So what you all did not realize is that this was part of a larger structure. So when you all were led out of the room, you could see what you thought were walls are actually curtains. So there's actually a larger structure beyond, which is the mansion proper. Okay? So when he takes you down what you thought was a open room right here, which is deviated by these 2 lines on the side, y'all can notice that these are the walls of the mansion. There's like an opening here, 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 and then there's like, for those that are listening, it's pretty much 3 openings on each side. And then there's a palm tree that tries to hide the smells and stuff that come in from the city. So they've been there for a good while. Now there is a big, huge open space in here. When you come in, what do you all do? Do you look around this massive room? So when you look around this massive room, which way do you look first, though? Do you look left? Do you look right?
I look to the left.
So,
Oh my god, people, he's getting naked. Help
I
us.
took my shirt off. I have a stain on the bottom of it. It's funny. So when you look to the left, underneath one of those palm trees, there is about the same size as your host. You look, which way do you look next? And I'll fill in more details.
So kind of back to the left, like back.
So when you look back to the left, there
like
is
I see him, do I see anything further past him to the left?
So when you look and say like your host is right here.
So like.
So when you walk in,
trying to look that way.
so when you look to the left, so we'll deviate you by this little kitty cat. So this is you. This is the kitty cat. So which would put this as being Eben. Lily, you're going to be this little person in the red robe. Okay. And then we'll put Grandma's littlest figure in the back. Okay. So now when you look into this room, Grandma has not entered into it yet. Okay. So left, right, forward. You look over the shoulders of your host as he's walking into this room.
Well, as I'm going to continue kind of around clockwise from where I was looking.
So where you're looking here, there is a palm tree that has been chopped off at the top that is basically a pillar, and it has a ring in it to where that big huge wall-like structure you saw was blocking off that first room. So you can't see around this corner.
Okay.
So if your line of vision pretty much stops where you see this giant red stone creature that, if I remember correctly, because I want to give you guys the right dimensions of these. So, what you basically see. Good. So when you look to that side, I told you saw a giant red stone. He looks basically like red granite stone, and he has like no hair. He kind of has like sunken in eyes, and he has a very grim look on his face. So you can guess based off your host that this is some kind of other giant. Now, as we previously discussed, because giants have never been seen, the closest thing that you all have that are giants are like trolls and some of the different creatures like that. You know, just creatures that are related to giants, not giants themselves, okay? So, resembles a lean, muscular human. Its hard, hairless flesh, we said, was a smooth, reddish granite color. Gaunt, faceless features and deep, sunken black eyes that make it seem grim. He stands at about 12 feet tall. So, when you look that way, that's what you see. Raven, do you do anything, or do you keep looking ahead as you?
I keep looking ahead.
Okay, so turning to my other player here, do you look in any other directions?
Like I stated earlier, I'm going to continue looking around.
Okay, so without you making any actions or any observations, Lily, so Raven's just going to basically look ahead. So as you're standing there and you're basically watching, there's another one that looks same exact appearance, except his skin is a stone gray color. Okay. Now, when you're also looking around the room, there is another figure that you can see that automatically she is a woman. And she has this silvery cream complexion skin. She's also in that same structure of height that he is. In fact, she is 18 feet tall. So she is actually taller than him. So let me put down something that's taller than him. So, not only that, but as you all are standing there, because Tara, you said that you are continuing to look around the room. So that is the 4 figures that you saw. Now, however, the figures that you saw in the marketplace, you do not see them inside the structure. So, if anybody cares to give me a d20 roll, and you have knowledge tactics, knowledge streetwise, knowledge adventuring, or just a flat out knowledge roll.
Can you give me his box to go with?
Okay, so it's a 16. And then we're just going to add your intelligence modifier. Lily, do you still want to make that flat out roll? Because remember, you're going to add your intelligence modifier to it. So don't be so hard to close that binder. Just because you may not have something written on your sheet does not mean we can't be able to get something to you. Okay. Tara, I don't see anything knowledge-wise that would help you out with this one. So okay, so you got a 20, 16. Tara, your intelligence modifier is a 7. Lily, I'm going to start with, you said, Lily, what was your roll? So it was a whole 20 or just added all together it was a 20? Okay, so I'm going to start with her. And then, since you're also in on it too. So, Bluebell, you think that maybe these figures are hiding behind trees maybe? But then as you look at Raven, who's like in front of you and kind of doing like the same thing, but she really hasn't said anything. So she's kind of been like letting you take the lead from the rear, kind of. So it's your host continues walking into the room, and now Grandma is in there with you all. So your host turns back to you, and as you're noticing, you see that one of these figures, maybe you saw something pass behind that window, and it's about that same height. I don't have anything taller, guys, so you're just going to have to bear with me here. You know, at a certain time when you don't have the right size minis, you know, you just got to kind of fucking deal. Okay, so, but that's your estimation. But you don't really know that they're out there, though, okay? You just think that's where they're at. So, your host, Golden Hand, turns around. He claps his hands, and he says, "Servants, bring my friends some refreshments and seats for all of us." So, of course, your host's voice echoes through the room, and over the astounding next few minutes, there is a procession of there's about the same elf you saw. Oh, there is one thing that I want to mention about the female giant. So she has a staff that she's holding on to, and in these intervening minutes while we're waiting for the servants to basically come in, no, there are 2 elves chained to the staff. They do not look like elves that you have seen within the city. They don't look like your grandparents. Completely different. Either side. Well, they're not drow. So wherever these elves are from, they are not from anywhere you all recognize. And one of them begins to play a harp, and the other one has a lap guitar that he starts playing. And she kind of like starts enjoying the music. You can see it physically. You know, maybe a twitch of a finger here though, and a sway of the head. And your host looks at you and goes, "So, before I sell you the item, tell me, as I do not get many guests of your kind. I understand that you are from a very large country on the other side of the nation." And he kind of looks across you. And speaking of which, while this is happening, since Grandma has come in the room, you notice that Evan has excused himself to stand against the wall.
I'm kind of
So
a little kind of behind to the side of Grandma, like kind of opposite Evan's side.
okay.
I noticed that I kind of step back a tiny bit.
Okay, you step back behind her.
I step more back
So which
more.
You don't want
Sure.
to be behind
Yeah.
Grandma because remember you're supposed to be.
so
Her-
you
her
stand
person.
next to her.
More of actually.
Okay. So you okay.
Like still in the front, but still somewhat towards
So
the
do you
back.
stay standing or
I stay standing.
she looks and goes, "Footstool, sit down." She
I
goes,
sit down.
"Shoulder rest, come here." And she motions at you. And she's leaning, again, the whole furniture thing that you saw her do before in the waiting room, she's doing the same thing.
Who is
And
she referring to as footstool?
Who's shoulder rest then?
Of course. It's Grandma.
but you're both the
Whatever.
same height.
Oh,
So you notice no matter what, she's not really going to be able to sit on the ground. So what do you do?
I do what she says.
Okay, so when you I guess sit down on the ground, she puts one of her legs up on your shoulder and she crosses the other one over it. When she's leaning back on you, she whispers to you and she goes, "Don't worry." So and then
Because when all else fails, I trust Grandma.
okay.
Because
So-
that was there to save our ass.
In the next few minutes, when they bring in furniture and everything, you notice that she has provided a chair and y'all are provided like some kind of like footstool. And she's actually brought an actual footstool. So you all can actually have like a dignified way to sit down. Lily, did you want to change your position? Or did you want to go back to that original position that your figurine is still in?
I just stand back up.
Okay. So, what you all? Okay. So, back to where we were going. So, with the furniture brought in, the next thing you notice is that these collection of slaves basically bring in, like two sets or two different size, like kettles, and they have like fancy handles and they have little feet on them, and they bring out little saucers that have coals underneath them that are lit. They set them underneath these pots, and they bring out enough cups and the right size cups for everyone in the room. This includes the two giants on the other side of the room. Okay. So, at this point in time, before we go any further, is there any roles, anything you want to ask, any conversation? Okay.
I'm going to continue looking around.
Okay. So then I will need you to give me a d20 roll.
There we go. Damn.
Nice. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That would be under. No. So, okay, on with what we were doing. I'll need you to make another one here in a few moments. So, as you all are getting comfortable and the cups are brought out, cups for everybody. In a few moments, the servants return with pastries. And then from there, your host and you all continue to enjoy
I look
the
over
elves
around
play.
before doing anything. Like, if she's eating and drinking, I will partake.
Okay. Yes, she will look at you all. Raven, what do you do?
I'm looking at her and just saying, I'm just like,
So are you going to wait and see what she does as well, or
yeah, my character is like a thing that's suspicious.
okay? So you're basically sitting there, and your host waits this few minutes until everything is brought out, and then you all are enjoying the elves playing, and then from there, your host waits a few minutes more and then begins to talk, and he says, "So, tell me about the lands that you are from. I understand you come from a very large kingdom across the ocean." And he goes, "I have never seen a gnome such as you, my friend. What is your name? What part of your name is simpler to call you for convenience sake?" So, Raven, tell me, you you are a gnome, yes? Are you a free person? As I understand that many creatures on this side of the world are.
I don't get what that means, Josh.
So why don't you ask him that?
I can you please explain?
He goes, "Oh, I am sorry. Where I am from, on the other side of the world, giants rule. We are like kings. In fact, we are kings of the entire side of the other world. So, like in my home in the deserts of Araka, my people are rule huge vast wastes of the desert, and we have nomads that answer to us that tend our tribes of different slaves, and we have animals that need to be herded, industries in order for us to live comfortably." He goes, "Not only that, but we need armies in order to fight the warlords." So he goes, "Is it like that here? You have warlords?"
No.
Ah, ah.
Define warlord, because
He
there
goes,
are
"Well."
there are keepers. They'll make sure.
He goes,
Yeah.
"Well, on the other side of the world, these warlords, how to explain, they don't like giant rules. Some of them are giants, but they don't like the core and how it's set up. So, like my people, we're like usually nomads, and we tend to desert herds, and you know." His seneschal speaks up and goes, "Master, perhaps I should explain. After all, I am well versed in such matters." She goes,
Please stand back on the couch.
"Oh." She goes, "I'm Fanister." She goes, "I'm Golden Hand Seneschal," she says after a few moments. And you notice a look of disdain on her face when she says it. Or no, her name is not Bannister, excuse me. Blah, blah,
That's just
blah,
red guy.
blah, blah, blah. No.
Wasn't Dennis
Golden-
wizard?
No. I'm sorry, her name is Synthora. Sorry. It's another character. Synthora, like I said, she's the one that's sitting there, silvery skin complex, silver hair. One of the other things that when she draws, you notice her, or when she's fully drawn to your attention, she has her hair braided into braids. She's got simple robes on with small pieces of armor in and underneath, which are very obvious because of her size. She noticed that she has rings on every single one of her fingers and toes. She wears bracelets, and you notice the only thing that isn't decorated is the two elven bards or their instruments. So she's very fancy about herself. And she goes, the warlords on the other side of the world are comprised of two different groups. You have the ones that are giants, and you have the ones that aren't, such as the War Duke. The War Duke has been around since, well, he's always been around. We're not sure if it's a title or it's one individual. There's of course the varying different giant tribes that fight the courts. They're often referred to as warlords as well. Because it's not quite as quiet as it is here on your side of the world. Because I don't imagine you all have to worry about raiders smashing across your cities or anything.
Maybe not quite to the extreme, but we do have our own problems.
So she looks at you and goes, really? She goes, what kind of problems would you possibly have in lands such as, now of course this city is rife with problems.
Right, I mean, every city has its own troubles, the petty criminals, the thieves,
She goes,
et
well,
cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
it's not so much the thieves here as it's the town guard, the marauding wizards, the barbarians that fight in the streets, the spellcasters who fight with each other. And as she's having this conversation in the background, you can actually see in the darkness that you can see that there's these multicolored lights that seem to they're not they you can see that they're over that wall in the distance that you all pass through in this district. And at one point you notice that there's that same glow, and then there's a rumble of buildings.
Well, I guess our town guard is different because our town guard is pretty good at keeping this sort of stuff under control. I look over at Grandma to be like, what's doing this, that kind of look.
Your grandma looks at them and goes, things are much different in our city because we don't have such powerful beings such as yourselves, but small ones such as myself, we drow. Of course, we live it forever. That is a problem with us that have a longer lifespan. We have longer to part and plan and to wait for things to happen. So it makes things interesting, especially when you have things like beholders that live in your city. And then after all, there is an arcane that lives there as well. So we have very powerful creatures that, not quite your stature, but they are most powerful compared to beings such as yourselves. She leans forward and takes a little snack, and y'all notice everybody kind of takes a few bites in between conversation. So let me understand. So with such beings such as yourselves, there's a bit of conflict. He goes, well, who keeps watch over all of you? What are your kings here? Are they giants? Well, they're probably not giants, are they? What kind of kings do you have?
I'm not sure if we have kings in the sense that you have kings here. We have our different levels of our guard that help maintain control. We have different hierarchical aspects.
And then there's the nobles.
Yeah,
which are about 30 different ruling families, different races.
Yeah.
Different composites. There's ones that might be made of nothing but wizards. Right. There might be a family of bards or rogues. So all these
going over these general
layers. So you would kind of let them know, and then above it is His Royal Majesty off Marian the 6th, or no, at this time it'd be off Marian the 32nd. So under Othmarian the 30th, under the procession of Othmarian kings that have taken the same name, that, and they just added a number afterwards, that it wasn't until like the 16th king that the wall was built, and then by the time the 20th king came around, the wall was complete. And then about like the 7 years after that, the Flying Mountain came down to the west and cracked the wall. I know you guys have a giant ass dwarven mountain stronghold that sits to the west, which is not, you don't know if it's full of dwarves, but you know it's a dwarven mountain that somehow was able to fly through the sky before it fell. Okay. Well, the way that the Othmarians work is that there has been one or two times where a queen has ascended, and there is a feminine version of the name. So you have Othminion, and you have there's only been Othminion the third. So every so often, if a husband dies, a wife assumes that title. So it's not so much a name as it's a honorific to the rulers that have stood before them. So it's the way that they would explain it to you in school or temples, and when the clerics come by to sweep the streets and they teach kids in the morning, during those really weird wee hours when kids are awake, and they're when you kids would be in school, kids would be out running about, except you have the clerics in the streets, and the clerics would look after you all, and they'd sweep the streets, and they would give you different lessons, and sometimes they would usher you kids off into groups and trade you to a different group of clerics that were sweeping streets, and as they were teaching, you would pick up trash and stuff. So they taught you that basically that title system is how the king or queen basically tells the people, I forgo my identity and my ego for the sake of you, the people. Now, you know that below you, as free folk, there's this massive population of serfs. And when I say massive, I mean the serflands are not an area you've ever seen as a guard. And if you would ask your grandmother, she would say, I've never seen it either. It requires all kinds of special passes, and the people there don't carry money or weapons. So they are the most protected class of citizen in the entire empire. As to what the racial makeup is, that's up to the debate. But the people that you all know within the city of Othmaria, and even somewhere into when you went into the plantations of the Storm Isles, there was still that kind of plantation system of serfdom, but they had a little bit more freedom to be able to carry weapons and use money. So you've kind of seen bits and pieces of it before. So does that kind of help you out a little better?
Yeah, I needed a little bit more of an understanding of it.
No, it's okay, because with this being a fantasy kingdom, that's why we have these conversations. So it kind of lets the people who are listening know what the system is, and it lets you as the player know. So that's why this adventure has kind of come about as well. Okay? So back into character. So with that in mind, does that help you out with the conversation any?
I listened to see if she told about the lower level,
the giant serfdom class. So without Tara knowing about it and you asking about it as a player, she knows about it, but she probably, because she has no interaction with it, she probably let it slip her mind. And you know that the Surflands is this huge population center that really, if push came to shove, that they could put a weapon in every single one of these people's hands, and there would be probably enough people 30 times over to like equal one giant being killed, maybe. You think. But then again, you've never seen a giant fight, so you think maybe 30 people can fight a giant and win.
Mm-hmm. So I don't mention her at all.
Okay.
I just look around to see if she did mention it.
Okay.
And think about like this.
So what I always look about is just the king, the different hierarchy levels, and that sort of stuff.
Okay. So like if you went into the full fuel system, you would have explained that there's a population that's below you guys as free folk. But they're not slaves. They're well tended to, they're fed and everything, and clothed and housed and looked after very well. By wizards, clerics, the full shebang. So when you all start talking about this, you notice that the two elves that she has, she looks very uncomfortable with them all of a sudden, and she nudges one of them with the coat with the staff, and she says, "Keep playing." And the two elves go back to playing because you notice they stop playing when you all are talking.
Do they have any other sort of reactions to the information being relayed?
You could see that your two hosts, your host Golden Hands he seems to take that news of how the system of maybe like people are free and there isn't like somebody over you to judge you or cause you problems is like you can see like maybe he's a little relieved, like he's like, oh well, you see maybe he's smiling but he may be wrestling with something. However,
I'm thinking about like the two elves.
So Cynthora is like gazing disapprovingly down at those two elves, and she notices you looking at them and smiles. And she doesn't say anything, but she keeps watching you. And she you notice like when as she keeps watching you, like she has a rod that she takes out of her robes, and she just lets it be seen by the two of the elves, and they that they kind of falter in their playing, and then they go back to playing within a few minutes of it being like kind of like an off
like
tune.
A right there, like threat, like with them seeing it. Like
well, give me a d20 roll, and like we'll kind of go into that because
16.
So with so if I'm use magic device plus 8, I would say that you kind of have the idea that this rod may be some kind of punishment device, but you're not exactly quite sure how it would be used.
Okay. I look back over at Granny.
So your grandmother, when she sees it, she raises her eyebrows, but she doesn't say anything. Now, do you ask her about it?
Nope. I just watch her reaction.
So she raises her eyebrows and she notices that you were interested first, and she goes, Cynthora, that is an interesting rod. What does that do? And Cynthora smiles and she holds it up and she goes, oh, this thing, it's merely used to control servants who kind of forget their place. And she leans forward and presses against the elf, and he instantly collapses to the ground. And you don't hear him cry out or anything, but he just collapses to the ground, and the other elf tries to keep playing as he witnesses this. Now you get the idea. Now when she touches him, it doesn't leave any marks or anything at all. So the elf just collapses on the ground. And Golden Hands looks at her very uncomfortably when she does that. and she looks at him with a smile and puts the rod back into her robes. And he goes, I would prefer that we not have such unpleasantness in front of our guest, if you would not mind. Centaur looks at him and goes, you are the ambassador here, so I will heed your wishes. And she takes her foot, when she raises it up, you hear a jingle, and she kind of pokes the elf. And after a few of those, like he's like, huh? He gets up and he looks at her and he goes, oh, and he goes back to playing, and it takes him a few minutes to like where he's playing normal again. And Golden Hand sighs and goes, well, with such unpleasantness being seen, let us conclude our business before it gets any further. He snaps his fingers, and the large figures that you saw, or one of the, no, actually, it would not be one of the large figures. It would be.
Come on, make up your mind, man.
I know,
old.
right? What the fuck, dude?
Getting old.
Small or big? What the fuck are you gonna use? So, when he snaps his fingers, from back behind wall, and whoop, and up Evan over. So from behind this direction, a small dwarf approaches, and he has a pillow. And he has something tucked on a pillow. Do you want to give me a 20 roll, either one of you? Lily, are you interested in what's on this pillow?
What? You need to be interested because my roll sucks.
I'm not sure.
What was that, a 6 or a 9? I think it was a 9.
Yeah, it was a 9.
So,
I'll be interested.
what you see on this pillow, and Raven, when the dwarf passes by you, what'd you roll?
10.
10? Add a +5 to that, and what's your spot check? Or search, maybe?
No. Oh, I see spot. Can I use search instead of spot?
Yes, you can use search instead of spot.
And it would. You said +5 and then.
Yep.
And then search for spot, so then it would
Yes,
be
ma'am.
a +20.
There you go. Okay, so what you both notice is that on this pillow, there is a crystal orb, no bigger than a doorknob. In fact, when you look at this crystal,
I cringe inside.
it is a diamond.
I cringe inside.
Why are you cringing inside?
I noticed that in like.
Doorknob.
Yes. So this doorknob size diamond, or whatever it is intricately carved. And with your roll results, you notice that it's covered in all of these little different runes and figures and everything. Now, because neither one of you are a wizard, or you use magic strongly enough to recognize this, you can only wonder at what this item is. Yep, you don't have her wizard character with you all.
With our past experience, would we have any inkling on that?
No.
We've had conversations with Grandma about like door and like doorknob of magic.
You could make her roll, and it would be like a -10. But your use magic device is +8. You don't have knowledge arcana, so you're kind of having to go off
over like with information I've gotten from a few different sources.
You're kind of having to guess on a lot of things, and that's why there's a negative. What'd you roll?
13.
13, so 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. So at 11, you're kind of picking up some of the stuff that I'm saying. So Bluebell's like, oh, I think that could be used for like the doorknob thing.
I'm not saying it out loud.
So you think it in your head,
yes.
though, but you don't say it out loud. So we
right.
never said that you said it out loud.
I see. I say like cool, calm, like.
Okay. So when the dwarf comes forward with this item on the pillow, he places it on the floor in front, and he'll actually look at you, Raven, Like he wants you to move aside.
Okay, then I move aside.
So when you move aside, he motions for you to step back in line with Bluebell, and he approaches and he withdraws another pillow from his person, and he sets the pillow in front of your grandmother slash employer.
I'm standing right to her side.
Okay, so she withdraws from her robes a bag, which you can easily identify as a bag of holding because you both have a bag of holding.
Really? You didn't tell her she had a bag of holding, only told me I had a bag of holding.
Okay, so you've seen a bag of holding, Lily. You've used one in your thief cart before when you robbed the house, okay? So that's how you know what it is.
Okay.
So, she places this bag of holding, and you notice that it is not a typical bag of holding. It seems that it is a bag of holding of some greater standard. She takes it off herself and she places it on the pillow. He takes the pillow, places it halfway in between, walks back, gets the pillow with the crystal, places it next to the pillow, takes her pillow, brings it to him, takes his pillow, brings it to her, bows to both parties, proceeds back through the room and disappears again.
Josh,
Okay.
this is what I have to say about earlier when you were talking about you don't have any two-figure tokens that were back here.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. So, your grandmother looks at it and she goes, so this is the item. He goes, indeed. He goes, I found it half a world away, 300 or almost 300 years ago. My grandfather, who unbeknownst to me, put it in a ring, and I had the fortune of carrying such ring until the clasp was destroyed, and I placed it in a box not thinking anything of it. So it was very bizarre when I had seen a flash sheet in the local bazaar for such an item. So down to the descriptions. So tell me, what is this item? She goes, oh, well, do you really want to know? He goes, yes, please. It's a mere trinket, nothing else. Well, come, my friend, if it was a mere trinket, why would you pay so much for a trinket? Because I think there's more that you're not telling me. Please, don't be afraid. There is much that I want to learn, and it is not your deprivation. I merely seek knowledge for knowledge's sake. After all, if I had any intentions of betraying you, I would have already done so and taken both items. She looks around and goes, fair enough. After all, you do have two other rock giants standing at the corner of the room. And I'm sure that between you and your storm giant seneschal, that you all would have been quite easily able to take the item. She goes, it's the last key to a puzzle for me being able to free a family member from a magical imprisonment in another realm, a pocket realm, you might say. It's something that's been plaguing our kingdom for nearly 150 years. It was put to sleep a long time ago, and it's recently reawakened. In the town of Saltmarsh, there was a mass murderer who was going to be raised as an undead creature, and my dear beloved niece and her adventuring party have stopped this. And on the altar of this cult, where they raided it and they smashed the figurines and stole the treasures, there was a large ruby the size of such figure that is there on the pillow. They touched the door and then they were gone. We haven't seen them since, and since it was a doorknob, we can only guess that the doorknob came after its back. He looks at the seneschal, and the seneschal looks at him, and they go, what, the doorknob came after? She goes, yes, well, we don't know what it is. The only thing that we know from the last time that a party posted this massive interplanar dungeon off is that there's more and more levels as you go deeper. And I'm sure some enterprising heroes were able to close it off that they would certainly be much richer for the experience. So I need you two to give me a d20 roll. Okay.
Dennis, come back here.
She's been such her.
Oh my god, that's horrible. I'm at the end.
I didn't say what it was.
It's a 4, okay? Just put your butt in my face, man.
I just said it was a d20 roll. That's all, man. I didn't even paranoid.
13 and 18.
Mm-hmm. So hers is an 18?
Yes.
Okay.
She dies first. No, we don't.
So what was your roll?
4.
4? So add your spot to it or search?
What are those? What are those?
Tara? Your spot is 18.
Oh, that's right. So 4 and 18, that makes it 22.
Oh wait, we're supposed to be at spot.
Yep. Or search if you have it.
18. So I got 21. I got 22 as well.
So, what you all suddenly notice is you suddenly notice that the shadows in the room go a lot darker.
Mm-hmm.
And that it seems like some of the torches are going out.
I look over to Evan.
Evan doesn't say anything, but you notice that he has noticed as well.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
Okay. So, when you all are paying attention to the shadows, you suddenly see a figure step forward. And your host does not realize it at the time, but the figure behind him is about the same height as the seneschal. Chalky gray skin. It does not have any color to its pupils. It has white hair. It withdraws this giant mace that has like a blade on the front of it, and it just shoves it all the way through your host's chest. Smiles at the both of you when he drops down and disappears.
Yeah, invisibility.
Okay. So the seneschal automatically freaks out, like the storm giants the stone giants are running towards where that figure was.
And
they are freaking out. You're invisible.
Yeah.
Okay, do you change positions at all in your invisibility?
I'm gonna maybe kind of take a step back, you just moved me, but I'm gonna have I don't know, the crossbows, would you go with those arrows? Or
okay, so arrows? You do have your bow. Let's see, in fact, when we list it, your said weapon.
There were 75 and 75?
Yeah. Yes, you have a hand crossbow, which is your 1d4, isn't it?
Yeah.
Short sword. Oh, no, it's a short bow that you have.
Okay.
So it's your 1d4.
And then which 2 different arrows I had?
You have your sleep, and you also have memory loss. Memory loss and sleep.
I have my dagger.
So when you all are drawing weapons and everything, Synthora looks over and she goes, "A shadow giant." She looks at you all and goes, I'll give you the gold back. I want you to go talk to somebody and see if they're behind this. Will you do it?
That was pretty grandma. Let me see.
She looks at you all and goes, I'll send my servants, but I'll stay here with you.
And then I was pretty grandma. Stay here. You go.
You're going. I'm getting that money back. She goes, do you know? She goes, that money will buy the house back. She goes, we've been living on the streets in the dark corner.
Oh.
She goes, it will buy back the house and the properties and everything.
I go back to where I can be seen again.
Okay.
And then, like, as I'm being visible again, I put my bow away.
Okay. So Synthora looks at you and goes, there's two parties that I have to ask you to see then. I want you to see the Assassin's Guild. She goes, there's a large black tower in the center of the city. There's an office there. You can use this. And she takes out one of her bracelets, and it's large enough to be considered like nearly the size of like 6 gold bars. So it's quite an amount of gold.
I'm walking up to her to take whatever it is she's doing.
Okay. So she takes off this bracelet and hands it to you.
Okay.
So you need to give me a d20 roll because
What was my strength on this?
your strength modifier is actually a +1.
What?
Yeah. You're a small creature, remember? You're this small little tiny pixie.
Wait. Is she?
Oh my god, the other one was better.
What was the second
The
one?
first one was a 5. The second one was a 1.
So with the 5 that you rolled and tried to hide, you get a 6. So like
Can I just put it inside my bag of holding?
you sway back and forth, and after a few minutes, like you're like, oh, bag of holding,
Yeah.
and like you gingerly slide it into like the almost not wide enough mouth of your bag of holding.
Okay.
And then it's gone.
Does she say anything to that?
No, but she smiles very like, oh, that's so cute. Look, like, you know, like a baby trying to peel an orange.
Yeah.
It's one of those. So, when
Do I hear anything out of the elves?
the elves don't say anything at all,
Give me any
in fact, like they look like they have edged to like the the furthest extent of their chain.
Here's my kid.
to be away from where
To
I
get away from like this still laying in the floor giant body that's like bleeding on the floor, and like the seneschal is just like you know, nonchalantly already conducting her next bit of business. Like it's like, oh, somebody took a deuce on the floor. But as you can see, this is a 5-bedroom house. You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the first mission. What's the second one?
She goes, the second one is the name that I accidentally fucked up and said earlier.
Carry on.
She goes, I want you to see Stanista Lightning Fist.
Yeah.
Stanista Lightning Fist. He's at the Storm Giants, and he lives at a he lives at a tower not far from here. It's actually outside those city walls where we're at.
Do we need to give any sort of forewarning on our way out there?
Synthora looks at you and goes, you may kill any of them you want. She goes,
Really?
Bannister is not. The reason why I think that he is behind this, what may have been the Assassin's Guild, is the Assassin's Guild controls this city. They were not happy with Golden Hands. Bannister's wife is a shadow giant. And usually where there's one shadow giant, there's more. So I don't care how you go about concluding a small one. Kill as many of them as you want, but I want answers.
Raven.
You look at who? Eben?
Raven.
Or you look at Raven?
And then I look over to Evan.
Okay. So Eben nods, and he goes, you know, kind of, okay, all right, killing motherfuckers, look, you know. Okay.
Yeah, my arrows are going to work much on people here because they're strength.
Okay, so as you all are having this conversation, all of a sudden, that same shadow effect that you see from before.
I go invisible again.
Okay, so roll a d20. Lily, I need you to.
I have my dagger and my
Okay, I need you to.
my short sword already in hand. So
Okay. So you remember how last time we did not roll initiative? I need you to roll initiative for me.
20.
So you got a 20.
Probably move that back over.
18 portion. I was looking at the wrong thing.
Okay, so you rolled what?
I'm at 18, so plus 7. Plus 18 plus 7.
Do you have improved initiative?
Do I have improved initiative? Minus.
I think I did.
It would be 25. Oh, look at this strategy.
So that's what 4, and then plus your ability modifier, right? You have improved initiative, or do you?
I don't
Here,
know.
okay, let's take a look at something here. Okay, initiative plus 7. So yes. So you rolled a what and got a what? 25, right?
I rolled an 18.
Plus 7 is 25.
Okay.
7 is 25.
Then I have improved initiative.
Tara, you do too, so that turns into a 24. So then you're. Ah! Okay, sorry as I do the math here. So, what we. Oh, nice one there, Lo. No, I'm kidding. Mistakes happen. So, okay, what you see happen is that all of a sudden your invisibility goes off before you rolled initiative because it's at will.
Yeah.
So you disappear. So all of a sudden, what you basically see is that the shadows dislodge 2 separate groups of creatures. From one side of the room, closest to where your host would have been sitting, you see 4 gnomes appear out of the shadows. They are gnome-sized, clad all in black like they're ninjas, and they have they have great big huge axes. These axes are way bigger than them, and it looks like they should not be able to hold them, but they are holding them quite confidently in their fists. And then from the other side of the room, what you see is a group of creatures that look like elves, except they are gray of color, white hair, covered in tattoos, and they have piercings and studs that are hanging out of their bodies. And they have these spiked chains they're swinging around. And as soon as they see one another, you hear them yell, "Assassin's Guild! Shadowkai!" And that's when the shit hits the fan.
Okay.
So Tara, or Lily, you have the first action since you have the highest initiative of 25. What would you like to do?
I need dice.
Okay. Well, we will whip the dice out. Lily, are these your dice out of your box? Okay, so then those are yours out of the box. Is that what you knocked onto the floor?
Yeah.
Yes, and then I put the ones that I knocked onto the floor into the
Okay.
box because I realized
How weird I
But okay. So I'm just standing there like, wait.
Are you gonna do anything?
Now you can with house rules and
Wait, I have
3.0, 3.5 D&D, you can be able to hold your action and then take your action after somebody else's action. So If you're
I'm
not
gonna hold my
sure
action.
what to do, you can hold your action.
I'm gonna
So
hold my
now that you've held your action, Tara, what do you do?
Sleeping arrows.
So you notch a sleep arrow,
Yes.
and who do you aim at?
I'm gonna aim at the shortest motherfuckers up there.
So you're gonna aim at those gnomes?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lily, you need to be careful. Walk that way for me so that you don't hook anything. I know. Don't worry. You're good, kiddo. Okay, so in order for you to hit the smallest motherfucker that's in the room, you need to give me some good rolls.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put it to you that way. So let me see what you've got with your.
Is it D4 or?
So it's a D20 to start off with. That's to leverage your attack, and then you add your attack bonus
18?
to that. So 18. So hold right there. 18 plus your base attack bonus is you add 9 to that 18. So yes, you do
27?
hit. So you hit them with this arrow. So your arrow requires them to roll a. Which one did you do? Sleep?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
So it is, one less card that we have to worry about, or somebody can easily knock the Stanford.
Oh, sorry, wrong ones.
Because it's sleep or poison, right?
So when you hit this gnome assassin, like the arrow sticks in him or in her, you can't really tell, and there's no real effect.
Yeah.
So with that being done, that's the one person that I left off the list. I'm not that the top witness. So Lily, with your held action, do you want to go or what do you want to do?
You can attack anyone you please. Really?
Well,
Yeah.
from what you can see, the two groups that are standing at opposite sides of the room, at some point your host, these giants, are going to swing into action. So the question is what side do you want to be on? Do you want to help the giants that your grandmother's trying, or your employer's trying to get the money back from? Do you want to help these assassins that have appeared out of nowhere? Or do you want to help these groups of what was identified? Okay. So then give me a D20 roll. Do you want to get back to your seat there?
I'm sorry. I moved it so it's easier.
Or do you want your sheet?
So
what did you roll?
A 10.
Okay, so 10 plus your base attack bonus. So are you using a melee or a ranged weapon?
I'm using it.
So that's a plus 4.
14.
So 14, you're going to go after one of the assassins. So when you go up to engage them and you go to stab them, you actually miss as they kind of duck out of the way very quickly. And you hear one of them chuckle and say, "Gonna have to do better than that, little girl." Yeah, this is another gnome talking to you. You can tell it's a gnome.
Okay.
So,
Shut up.
all right, there you go. Now you can get your curse out of your system. So, the next person to go, since you held your action, is Evan. And you see that Evan, you notice that all of a sudden, the group of assassins are now surrounded by a globe of darkness. And you are caught kind of on the edge of the darkness. And you hear somebody yell, "That's for telling me, fuck you! How's your vision now?"
Evan, shut up.
I love you!
Frick you.
So, now, what you're going to experience is you are halfway trapped between this dome of darkness and this globe of darkness. So
Can I move
you
back?
okay, so
You have to
disengage.
wait for your next round. That's the next round.
So I will give this to you under my house rules because you missed and you didn't connect that initial attack. I will let you withdraw, but remember when you disengage, you can only take a step, which is half an action, and you're at a -2 penalty. Okay, so what this -2 penalty is you backstepping. Your enemies know that you're there even with that globe of darkness, okay?
So I'm going to die. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, because you have to remember, there is this giant standing right there, okay? You have the other giant here, okay? Then you have this opposing party on the other side of the room. Okay, so what you'll end up seeing happen
Evan throws darkness.
is this globe of darkness, and you hear the assassins yell, "Golden Hands is dead! Get the Shadow Kai! Anybody else's collateral damage?"
Okay.
So what you will see is you'll see two of these gnomes hop out of the shadow and they engage that giant.
How heavy is Grandma?
Like by heavy, like what are you thinking? Are you thinking like pick up Grandma? Now, give me a.
Well, I can't do any action.
You can't do any action now. So like we'll find that out when it rolls back around to you.
Okay.
So what ends up happening with this giant is the two of them end up taking swings at him and drop him before he's even really able to act with them.
So there's still one other giant over there.
Yeah. She will.
No, there's another because the two.
Yeah,
big
there's-
tall one over here.
There's this one right here. So they've taken their action. So you will see these two. You'll see them hop out of the shadow, and they will directly approach the party. That's all they can do.
Okay.
So what you will see Synthora do is she will turn and she'll cast a spell. And you'll find out what that happens in a few moments.
Come on, Lily.
Stone giant that's left will take his turn.
My turn.
So he will run up to the gnome and take a swipe at him and miss.
Oh, damn.
Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. That was...
Can he trip and fall on the gnome and crush him?
No, actually, that was bad because it was sitting on something. But so what you end up seeing happen out of that is when he rolls up, he will swipe at him, but then with his second attack, he'll bull rush him. So he drops down to his knees and he tackles him.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, let's see, the giant will use a D12. It's what, 2D12? Is it long thing?
See?
Yeah. I'll show you something like that. See. Oh my god, I lost this in here. I think that would be the right size for the story. Who cares? It's my story anyways, bitches. Oh yeah, that's nice. Yep. So he's fighting this gnome and has him engaged. And then rolling back around. So those other guys that approach the other ones, you're seeing that they're starting to take swipes at one another. Mm-hmm. They kill one of the assassins where it kind of skips through some rolls here. So it's down to just the 3 assassins now. And then you guys, and then starting back up. At the top of the round, it's still you. Now, you were asking about picking Grandma up.
Didn't Grandma have a turn?
So Grandma has not taken a turn. So Grandma is choosing to sit out of this for whatever reason. So she either had a turn or she skipped it. Lily, that cord is right there, baby.
Lily's turn is before mine.
Yep. So,
Be careful,
Lily?
I don't want you making mess out here.
your turn. What would you like to do? Would you like to try to take it? Now, there is the other assassin that is over here with his back to you. That -2 penalty because nobody went after you has disappeared.
Okay, then I'm attacking you guys.
Okay, so that's going to be not even a full move action. And give me a d20 roll, if you please. And remember, you're adding a +7 to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered. Ha ha ha.
Ooh.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Congratulations, Lily. So, what did you attack him with?
My longsword.
You attacked him with the longsword.
Mm-hmm.
So I need you to roll damage for the longsword plus your strength modifier.
Okay, damage is
1d6.
1d6.
1d6. Okay.
But I'd also like to remind you guys that you are smaller creatures, and you actually get bonuses for ranged combat. So your ranged combat is going to be higher than your melee.
So plus my what?
So +7 to that.
So plus 7 to what I just.
No, what to your damage? Let's see
My
here.
damage here.
So with your damage, that's going to be 26 sorry. Well, you don't have a strength modifier, so it's just, what did you roll?
5.
5 points of damage? I like that 5 points of damage. So when he takes that 5 points of damage, he looks at you and goes, oh! So he definitely felt that 5 points of damage. So,
And I say that.
you notice something else is that when his back was to you, so roll an extra d6 roll 3d6 because you're 4th level rogue. You forgot to use your sneak attack. You don't remember about that, do you? Yeah, you have sneak attack. 4th level rogue? Here, 1 second. Let me pull it up because we'll make sure that I'm telling you the right thing.
11.
Second. Let me make sure I told you the right number of dice, because now I'm paranoid. I don't know what a 4th level rogue rolls for a sneak attack. No, I'm sorry, Lily, it was 2d6. So drop the
So
low.
she keeps the 5 and the 4.
No.
He said drop the lowest one.
Oh.
5 and the 4, so it makes it 9. That's the other 5. Nice. I like that damage, Lily.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And he needs to roll. So when you stab him, he suddenly goes very limp, and you see that when you attacked him, a lot of blood just splurts out of him, and he looks like he's about to pass out, and then he does, and you notice when he's passing out, you know how you've looked at a gelatin mold in the supermarket, and you could tell when Jello's good or when it's starting to turn watery. So he looks like he's turning to Jello, that black shadowy form that he's his cloak and everything, or his clothes, and then all of a sudden you see him go, and it's like somebody put an M80 in the middle of a Jello cup and it exploded everywhere. I need you two to give me a d20 roll. In fact,
I'm no longer invisible, am I?
You could say invisible, but
I mean, I'd probably cut you blue.
what's your will save?
I don't
Your
know.
will save is a I love how you answer that. I don't know, and I keep remembering that I have your fucking sheet.
I don't know where we'll be.
So your will save is +6.
So that makes 16.
16? What'd you roll, Lily?
No,
You rolled 10, and then your will save is a 2.
Oh.
Lily, like you, Raven like loses her fucking cookies. Like you just like
Cookies.
you lose your cookies as you are coated in like this black jello that you see has like red goo in it. But when it explodes, like you notice that there's a, what did I say that they were carrying? I told you guys they were carrying a great axe. I was wrong. It is a two-sided sword. So this sword, like when he explodes, like drops to the ground, and like you hear some metal tinkering, like out of the exploding. Tara, it's your turn.
Okay.
You are still invisible.
I whispered Grandma. Do you think I can lift you?
Your grandmother doesn't really have a response to that one, but you can try. I think she's more taken back by the fact of gelatin explosion gnome.
Can I make Grandma disappear? This way?
No, like you would, like you know that you can't make her invisible, like when you go invisible.
I feel like we've discussed this before.
No.
No.
You may have had this discussion with other parties because remember how you were a fairy dragon in that game with your dad. So it could be something related to that conversation because I think fairy dragons can turn invisible if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they can.
So instead of trying to lift Grandma up and like constantly horribly failing because I'm not the strongest one.
Okay.
And my bag of holding is not quite big enough to shove her in it.
That you know of.
I had difficulty shoving the other thing in there. So
Okay,
don't
so-
she was it.
Okay, so you remember that. Okay. I can't lead you into an insane move.
What's close?
So
we've got one of these guys is gone now, right? Like
Which one's
yeah,
gone?
so like the one that's in
closest
front
to
of
Lily.
Oh, yeah.
the one in the red robe is gone.
This one.
Okay,
So and this one he said he's gone.
it's gone.
So can we switch this to one of those because one of them was a giant?
We're just gonna leave the dead body there. Yeah.
Okay. So there's still one giant and one there.
Okay. So you said that you were going to engage whoever was closer. So on the closest side, you have a pick of your assassin, or you pick whatever that creature that was identified as a shadow kind.
So the assassin, my arrow did nothing to them earlier.
You hit them, but the sleep effect did not take hold like you thought it would.
Okay.
Either they made a good roll or they may be immune to it. There's no real way to be able to
Okay,
tell.
well then I'm gonna swap over to the poison one.
Okay.
And I'm gonna shoot at the
Which I remember, if the poison ones, because when you made the arrows, you made. You and your insane arrows. You have a memory loss and you have a sleep. So you don't have a poison one. But your sleep one would be your closest to a poison. Because that requires a will save. But the memory loss, you're not sure what that would do.
Let's go for memory loss, just for
Okay.
fun. Let's see what kind of happens. Alright, so the D20 again.
Mm-hmm.
See, 16 plus whatever that you got over there.
Give me a second here. I'll tell you how dead or not dead you are.
Me?
Yeah.
Can I shoot while I'm invisible?
You can attack while you're invisible.
Are they able to see where it's coming from?
Because you have... Yes, even... They can tell that it's coming in that direction, but they can't see the source.
Okay. Alright,
So,
so I'm staying invisible.
The reason why this works is that Pixie remains invisible even when it attacks.
Okay.
So that's under your racial, but not normally. So your base attack bonus from when you rolled.
Is what? And its range.
It's 9.
So 9 plus 16?
Okay. So
That makes it 25.
they didn't make a DC 25 or better. Okay. So when the arrow hits this,
Is this the same one that already has an arrow sticking out of him?
no, this tattooed, what you could call
No,
like.
I was aiming for.
Oh, you were aiming for the assassin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a different story. I'm sorry.
No, I was going for the same one that I've already been trying to get.
Okay, so you got assassin hate on your mind. You're just waiting to see what happens if you hit another one, aren't you? Okay. Excuse me a second.
Because I remember they were attacking the other clan. I was like, let me just go after the one I've already been going after, and maybe they'll leave me alone.
Whee!
Well, me and my people.
Okay.
With people.
So you rolled a what plus a what?
It was a total 16 plus 9, which is like 25.
Okay. And then I need to roll.
A 25 or better, bitch.
So even keeping that dice roll with what they have, like this arrow takes no effect either.
Does it sink in and cause any damage just being a freaking arrow by itself?
Well, it is 1d4 point of damage. So I mean, and the last one took 1d4 point of damage, but we just modernized it as 4 just to optimize you, which we might as well do again.
Yeah.
So they take 4 plus your little dexterity modifier bonus to it. So which makes it 12 points of damage. So
Do we hear any comments from them? It's like the
when your arrow hits them, one of them looks up and we see when
because it's not the tattoo ones that are getting shot at. It's
boop boop a doo boop boop a boo, doom is coming for you, Lily. Okay, so the assassin kind of like stumbles on its feet, but stays upright.
Did the tattoo say anything funny about the guy being like arrows sticking out of his?
No, but they seem to be looking for wherever it comes from. And then it is the assassin's turn, and he will stab himself in the heart and explode.
All over those.
Like everywhere. And seeing that action, like the other one will do the same.
Okay.
The other figures don't have the ability to do that. So once that happens, you see that figure from before, the giant figure. It phases out of the shadows behind them, or it creates shadows behind this dwarf.
No, that one's fine.
That's identified as the Shadow Kai, and like they're taken off the board as well.
Okay.
So, which leaves y'all and the Seneschal.
And the one giant.
And the one giant left. So
I go back to visible again.
now, once you're invisible, it
seems like you just whenever something starts going on, she's like, whoop.
Yep. Which is your nice little ability to be able to do. So at this point, the Seneschal will look at you all and she'll be like, well, I guess it looks like both parties were after them, weren't they? She goes, you don't have to take the money. or you don't have to run it down. I guess you could take the money as a thank you. Your grandmother. Yeah, your grandmother already has you have the bag.
Yeah, no, like I already have the bag, like her thing in my bag.
Excellent.
Does she want her thing back?
What, the other thing?
Yeah.
No. In fact, like she'll look at you. She'll go, "I think our business is concluded here, then," said Dora. They nod at each other, and you leave.
Okay.
And as it is now 8:02, and we have done an hour and a half, that is where I leave you this evening.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not the big fat gold bangle.
Oh, now I know what you were using.
Mm-hmm.
Since there was no battle the last time, it was all battle this time.
Yep. Somebody made a complaint of it, so we threw in some combat. I will keep throwing in more and more for you all. Because remember, now that you're carrying this money and you're heading into the streets of Innsmouth, you have to wonder what comes next that your grandmother may have planned. So I'll leave it there. Bye for now. You don't want to say bye or anything?
Like,
Peace out, motherfucker.
Bear